good afternoon. Welcome to round 2 of the British Talent Cup here at Donington Park. This was yesterday afternoon and it was race 1. And you can see that it was pretty action-packed, nice and dry for the first time we've had so far this season. We only had one race and it was held in very opportunist conditions back a couple of months ago, the second race being cancelled. Meanwhile, at the front of the race, it was Thomas Strubbe who qualified on pole position. However, Rory Skinner, the Scottish rider, soon set about making his way to the front, along with the number 5 there in the middle, Max Cook as well. It soon became a trio in the battle for victory, with them exchanging positions over the course of the race. Likewise, Fenton Seabright as well also got himself involved in the mix on board the number 22. You can see him there challenging for positions. They all exchanged places over the course of the race, and it really was going to come down to the last lap to decide who was going to be the race winner. No idea who was going to get it going into the final lap. We had absolutely no clue up here in the commentary box. Rory Skinner looked very strong, but as soon as he managed to pass it, Max Cook was able to retaliate. Likewise, Fenton Seabright also looking quick. However, it all went wrong for Seabright as he crashed at the last corner out of a potential podium position. That left Rory Skinner, Max Cook and Thomas Strubbe to come home in first, second and third respectively. A brilliant way to start their weekend, a fantastic race on the top step, and the championship changing as well. Well, a very good afternoon from Donington Park here in Leicestershire. It is round 2 of the British Talent Cup, and we are about ready to go racing for the second time this weekend. It's been an absolute classic so far here at the circuit. We've had some great racing here on Sunday. We had a brilliant British Talent Cup race yesterday as well. And what are we going to be set for this afternoon? Well, pretty much more of the same, I would imagine. Let's wait and see what will happen. You can see the runners and riders on the grid. So we've had 2 races. We had one qualifying session on the Friday. And what happens is that qualifying session decides the grid for race 2 here as well. So this man here who qualified on pole position for race 1, Thomas Strudwick from Littlehampton, he will be on pole, as you can see, for race 2. On board the number 8, races in the British Moto Star Championship, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he fares. Of course, he fought for victory and took victory in race 1 of the season a couple of months ago, and it's going to be interesting to see how he fares. My name's Tom Brooks. Alongside me is Steve English. Steve, we had a brilliant race yesterday, set for more of the same today.
Definitely, Tommy. Look at these riders getting ready for the grid. We saw Rory Skinner pick up his first British Talent Cup victory of his career yesterday evening. And Rory Skinner, of course, a former Red Bull Rookies rider. He's got plenty of experience in the CEV Championship as well, racing in Moto 3. And he really will be the yardstick with which all of these riders will be judged. People in the Grand Prix paddock, they understand the level that Rory Skinner's at. If you want to get the opportunity at the next level, you got to go out and beat Rory Skinner. He's 16 years old, so there are a few riders that are quite a bit younger than Rory in this field. We're looking at Fenton Seabright. Fenton, third on the grid. Yesterday had a crash into that last corner, but he looks quick. And if you look at his record over the years, he's the man that won the KTM Cup last year in Great Britain.
Yep, Fenton Seabright looked very quick yesterday, as you said there, Steve. Managed to get right onto the back of the battle for the podium. Had a really unfortunate tip-off at the final corner on the final lap whilst he was in third position. And that, unfortunately, was all she wrote for Fenton. So, big shame to end his race in the gravel trap. And Neil Poix on the board. This man here, though, Rory Skinner, dominated, took the victory.
Rory Skinner, number 11, taking the victory. He is, of course, a Red Bull Rookies Cup winner as well. So, he does quite well in these Talent Cups. And Rory Skinner, he used all of his experience yesterday. He's raced at a higher level than anyone else in this field. And he put that experience to good use. He defended really well on that last lap to be able to hold on to the lead, and Rory doing a really strong job. But talking to people up and down the paddock, the one rider that did impress a lot of people, Max Cook, second on the grid, number 5 for Max Cook. He's only 15 years of age. He's the reigning Moto Star champion. He won 15 races last year in that class, 22 podiums. He's a man that knows how to rack up the points. And his 20 points yesterday, that's his first finish of the season. And
he's actually also competing in Red Bull Rookies this year as well. So a good wealth of experience he's getting on various different circuits this year is Max Cook, as you said. We just saw the number 4 of Scott Ogden. He didn't have a bad race at all yesterday, actually. Scott Ogden finished in 4th position. A great performance from the rider from Doncaster in Yorkshire.
Just looking at Cameron Horseman there as well, and difficult day yesterday for Cameron.
Yeah, really tricky for him. Ended up with a crash on the opening lap. Cameron got caught up in a very nasty incident going down at the first corner. He was involved in a crash with Scott Swan, and both of those riders unfortunately not able to finish the race, not able to remount. So disappointing way to conclude their day, not even completing the end of the first lap.
Yeah, and just looking at Storm Stacey, difficult round yesterday for Storm Stacey as well. Of course, mentored by Scott Redding, and racing in the MotoStar Championship last year. Took 5 or 6 podiums in that series last year. Really been able to build up the talent over the course of the last few years. He's even been mentored as well by Neil Hodgson at times out on track, just offering some pointers. Hodgie even saying that when he went out on track with him, he was struggling to keep up. So Storm Stacey, clearly a talent to watch in this British Talent Cup.
Yep, 6th in the race yesterday, Storm Stacey. 8th overall in the championship, 18 points on the board for him. This is the man to watch, though. 12 years old, Josh Watley, youngest rider in the field.
Tell you what, it's a force of habit for us all to say man to watch or the man to beat. But a 12-year-old kid, and Watley, he certainly is an impressive young rider as well. 12 years of age, one of the youngest riders in the field, and definitely also a rider to keep an eye on over the course of the next few years.
Definitely so. Well, you can see the runners and riders getting ready to head off on their warming up lap very shortly as the personnel depart from the grid. It's going to be very interesting to see how we fare. The championship going into this weekend, Thomas Strubwick was leading the way quite commandingly, of course, having taken victory. And he has a 10-point advantage over Skinner and Watley after the first race yesterday.
And down on the outside of the third row, Jack Nixon. On that, of course, a former KTM Cup racer and race winner as well over the course of the last couple of years. And Nixon took 5 wins in the KTM Cup last year, 17 podiums as well. So really in there or thereabouts the whole way through that season. He's just going to line up just in front of Brian Hart. And you can see Brian Hart now just down on the grid as well. Hart, of course, born in Spain, but racing here in the British Talent Cup, and definitely got some talent. Again, another KTM Cup race winner from last year. Finished 3rd in that championship and also won here at Donington Park in that.
Yep, absolutely right there, Steve. Brian Hart with a Brazilian mother, a British father, and he's grown up in Spain, so he speaks about 3 or 4 different languages. That's a talent that you and I would love to be able to mimic one day.
I can barely speak English half the time, and definitely for Hart, that's the kind of thing that gives a big advantage whenever you move on to racing the European Talent Cup or in any other series.
Definitely so. Well, you can see everybody ready to depart from the grid. The warming up lap about to get underway here at the British Talent Cup. A 15-lap race for the runners and riders. There are 23 of them on the grid. As we said, exactly the same qualifying positions as they qualified on Friday for this second race. You can see there the front row as they all get ready to leave on their warming up lap here at Donington Park in just a couple of moments' time. Tom Brooks then and Steve English here with you in the commentary box for the British Talent Cup. It's race 2 here at the Leicestershire-based circuit. We are about ready to get to go racing here. It's going to be an absolutely enthralling one. Ready to go for race 2 then here at Donington Park in Leicestershire. The riders of the British Talent Cup just cascading down through the Craner curves. Tom Brooks and Steve English here with you in the commentary box to guide you through this race. And Steve, we had an exciting race one yesterday. We're set for an exciting one here this afternoon as well.
Really exciting race yesterday, Tom, and we've been able to see all of these riders get to grips with this Donington Park circuit. Very different conditions to what we had in April for the opening round of the British Talent Cup. But there are a couple of places where we've seen riders yesterday make their moves, Tom. And this is one of the key areas through Coppice to have good exit speed down through into the foggy S's. We saw a lot of moves being made into the S's, a lot of moves into the hairpin, and also down into the old hairpin as well.
Absolutely. Here are the championship standings going into this race then. We had Rory Skinner taking victory yesterday ahead of Max Cook and Thomas Strubwick. Strubwick, of course, took victory in the opening race of the season, so he has a 10-point advantage over Skinner. And Josh Watley, who also performed quite well yesterday, and of course took podium in the first race of the season, into this race this afternoon.
This is, of course, round 2 for the British Talent Cup. The second race of the season was yesterday after we had one race abandoned due to the weather conditions over the Easter weekend. We'll also go to Snetterton, Silverstone, Assen. The season culminates in the Valencia Moto Grand Prix support race as well. This British Talent Cup sees it supported by the likes of Alberto Puig, of course, Alberto Puig, team boss for the Repsol Honda squad. You also have Nakamoto-san, of course, the former vice president of HRC. And these riders were selected by both of those guys. So clearly, lots of talent being on show here in the British Talent Cup, and it's all in front of the right people.
Well, it is going to be very exciting. It's going to be very unpredictable. Just to remind you of the grid going into this race, it is Thomas Strudwick who's on pole position ahead of Max Cook and Fenton Seabright. Row 2, Rory Skinner, Scott Ogden, Cameron Horseman. Row 3, Saul Stacey, Josh Watley, Jack Nixon. Row 4, Brian Hart, Scott Swan and Franco Bourne. Row 5, Rhys Irwin, Jonathan Campbell and Jack Hart. Row 6 is Charlie Atkins, Lewis Patterson and Ross Turner. Row 7, Charlie Farrer, Sam Laffins and Jamie Davis. Row 8, Aidan Davey and Harvey Claridge. The green flag then is waved at the back. Here's the front row, Strudwick, Cook and the number 22 of Fenton Seabright. Look to the top left corner of your screen. Wait for the red lights to come on, wait for them to go out, and we are underway for race 2 of the British Talent Cup. Very good start from pole position for Thomas Strudwick. He gets the initial launch as we head down towards the first corner. Keep an eye out as well for the number 20. That's Scott Swan. He's on the inside as we go in towards turn number 1. But another good start also for the number 11. That's Rory Skinner. He's up into 3rd position. Oh, and a big crash as well. There's one of the riders with the exhaust hanging off. That's the number 4 of Scott Ogden with some drama. We didn't quite see who it was that went down. That was going through into Hollywood and into the Craners.
I think it could have been Fenton Seabright going down into that section of the lap, and you can see here at the front we've got number 5 of Max Cook leading the way, and the number 4 just having an issue there. That's Scott Ogden, as you said, that exhaust just hanging off the back of his bike. But you can see here at the front the leading 3 riders, they've been able to pull all the way clear of the rest of the field. That's Cook, Strudwick and Skinner down the inside from Rory Skinner from 3rd to 1st. Good move from Rory Skinner there into pit lanes.
Well, deja vu. This is exactly what we saw in the opening race of the season. Confirmation that it was Fenton Seabright who crashed at the 2nd corner, caught up in that incident with Scott Ogden. We'll keep you up to date with any information we receive with regards to that incident. But Rory Skinner has managed to go from 3rd into 1st position on this opening lap. Good stuff for the Scotsman. He now leads the way, but it's not going to be for long, surely, because the number 5 of Max Cook is thinking about finding a way through. Rory Skinner runs it a little bit hot into the chicane there as well, into the foggy S's. That's an opportune passing place on these machines, but down in towards the Melbourne Loop is where Cook is going to be thinking about having a look.
Yeah, a lot of overtaking opportunities here. You can see the number 7 trying to get down the inside. That's Charlie Atkins, and looks like he's made that move on Horseman. But for all these riders, the key thing is try and get to the front of this group and move yourself closer to those leading trio at the front. Yesterday, Skinner, Cook and Strudwick were the fastest riders out there, along with Fenton Seabright. Seabright, of course, out of this race after crashing at turn 2. You see that Skinner continues to lead. Yesterday, his experience really did come into play. He was able to put his bike exactly where it needed to be to defend from all these riders around him. You can see that Max Cook trying to just stay with Rory Skinner and try and look to make a move further down the field. Just got a jump start penalty for Rhys Irwin. It's been a difficult weekend so far for Rhys Irwin. Had a problem on the grid yesterday and had to start from pit lane, had a crash, and now a jump start penalty.
Difficult times for Rhys Irwin, then he will have to go through pit lane, of course, to end up receiving and going through his penalty. As you can see, the top 3 leading the way. Josh Watley's made some ground. He's now ahead of Charlie Atkins, up into 6th position for the 12-year-old.
Yeah, gap of just 2 seconds between Strudwick and Stacey as well at this point. You can see this leading trio, they're just pulling away from the rest of the field. Rory Skinner continuing to lead from Cook and Strudwick. Of course, Strudwick, the championship leader and the pole sitter for the first ever British Talent Cup race.
Yep. Tom Strudwick doing a really good job on board that number 8 machine, rider from Littlehampton. He races in the British Moto Star Championship. The Strudwick finished 3rd overall in the standard class last year. This is away from the lights. This is a replay of the start, as you can see. Heading into the first corner, let's see if we can dissect what happens between Seabright and Ogden. Here we going through there, and that was, well, we just caught Seabright. Did he come over the path of Scott Ogden there? Either way, he ended it in the gravel trap.
You can't quite catch exactly what happened to Seabright. Let's wait and see if we see it from this angle. And as we ride on board through turn 1, and you can just see Seabright just loses that bike on his own. Maybe made contact with Ogden. You can see sparks flying from Ogden, so maybe just a bit of contact there. But Rory Skinner continuing to lead, but Max Cook just taking a look around the outside on the way into Goddard's. You have to be a brave man to be able to make the move around the outside into Goddard's. Rory Skinner just able to let go of the brake and retake that position pretty easily. Good riding from all these 3 riders at the front. The gap between them and their pursuers, 2.7 seconds. So they're comfortably out in front. As long as they work together in these early stages, they'll be able to fight for the podium between themselves. Max Cook down the inside into turn 1. Of course, for Max Cook, he's from Bristol, 15 years of age, and as we said, Tom, he's won a lot of races over the last year. 15 race victories in the British Motor Star Championship last year. Yeah, Max Cook, a very experienced rider here on the grid, as you can see. Still one of the younger riders on the field as well, just 15 years of age from Bristol. Actually lives in Swindon, however, and I actually commentated on him a couple of years ago when he was racing mini bikes, and he was very quick then, and he's very quick on board these 250cc machines as he leads the way and takes over at the front. Yeah, a lot of these riders using mini bikes just to prepare for the races. Also for Rory Skinner, he races bog standard stock 600 Kawasaki in some of the Scottish club races. Even was able to take a victory in some Supersport races on that bike. So Rory just learning on a bigger bike as well. He's got a lot of experience on bikes like this, but you can see it didn't really prove too useful on the run into McLean's. He's fallen back to third now, and you can see Max Cook just trying to break away at the front.
One of the interesting differentials, of course, is that Skinner is one of the larger riders, being one of the oldest riders in the field. Nothing you can do about that, of course. He's still a very small, trim lad. However, it does have an effect on, of course, the performance, where you've got the riders like Josh Watley, you've got Max Cook, Thomas Strudwick, who are perhaps a little bit younger, a little bit smaller in terms of their size as well. Big moment as well for the number 7. That was Charlie Atkins having a wobble, and that, I'm afraid, is a couple of riders who have gone down at what looks to be McLean's. It could be through there.
Yeah, and it looks like it's Sam Laffins and also Franco Bourne, and we'll just see them just come together on the run down in towards Coppice. And yeah, that can easily happen here. We've even seen it in the Superbike races this weekend, where those riders have come together on the run into Coppice. You can see there 17 Franco Bourne just on the right left-hand side of the screen, just trying his best to avoid a crash, but unfortunately for him, his race is over down at turn 8. So that's 3 riders out of proceedings so far. We also had Ogden come into the pits as well. We saw him have some damage to his bike.
Yep, big shame there for Scott Ogden. So his race in the pit lane there doesn't look like he'll be able to get out, unfortunately, after that one as well, with the exhaust was hanging off after that incident as well. And this is getting pretty interesting, because Max Cook has managed to bolt away from Skinner and Strudwick there, Steve.
Yeah, 9/10 of a second faster last time around than Rory Skinner, and he's starting to fight with Strudwick. They need to work together to close up on Max Cook. Cook's been able to open up 7/10 of a second lead so far in this lap, though. 10th by 10th, Rory Skinner's been able to pull himself and Strudwick closer towards the race leader, and you can see right there with the race leader now, Max Cook, just carrying a lot of speed on the run through McLean's. Really good line there for Rory Skinner to be able to carry that much speed and close up that much time on Max Cook, right there with Cook as well. If you think back to round 1, really challenging weekend for Rory Skinner in the difficult conditions. He crashed on the siding lap for the inaugural British Talent Cup race and was only able to recover and finish inside the top 10 with a badly damaged bike.
Yeah, big shame for Rory Skinner, but he's managed to make amends for that so far this weekend with that race victory yesterday afternoon. Is he going to be able to do the same this afternoon, or will it be Cook, perhaps Strudwick, or maybe even none of the 3? Be interesting to see how they fare. Good race also for Storm Stacey. He's currently in 4th position so far, with Josh Watley very close behind. Actually, a group of about 4 riders from 4th down to 8th position, with Stacey, Watley, Horseman, Nixon and Jack Hart also in and amongst the mix. That is going to get pretty tasty towards the end of this race.
You can see Max Cook continuing to lead. I was then chatting to Michael Laverty from BT Sport about the likes of Cook, Skinner and Strudwick, and then also Seabright. He picked out Seabright as being the rider that he chose just to keep an eye on, but he did say that for the likes of Cook and also for Strudwick, really important to be able to get in there and fight with Rory Skinner, beat him in a wheel-to-wheel scrap, just to be able to prove to everyone what you're able to do. And that's exactly what Max Cook is doing right now. Last time around, though, Rory Skinner pulled in 6/10 of a second with his fastest lap of the race, and just a smidge off the fastest lap of the race so far. Rhys Irwin comes into the pits. That'll be to serve his ride-through penalty for jumping the start.
Rhys Irwin, unfortunately, a day to forget at the office, a weekend to forget at the office, really, for the Irish rider. Big shame for him. He comes through, serves his ride-through penalty, and we'll get back out on track. This battle at the front, though, still going on. You can see Cook, Skinner and Strudwick still lining astern at the moment. That gap has really come down, and here comes Strudwick, here comes Skinner up the inside into the lead of the race.
Skinner has been able to hold that tight line all the way through this weekend into McLean's, and able just to use his normal line really to make an overtaking move there on Max Cook for the lead. So Rory Skinner hits the front once again. He had fallen round about 7 or 8 tenths adrift to Cook, but able just to bring that back all in the course of 1 lap. And you see Max Cook, he's going to try and defend and attack here on Rory Skinner into the foggy S's. Skinner's done a good job all the way through this weekend. If you think back to yesterday's race, always able to defend into the foggy S's.
Very good stuff from Rory Skinner. Let's see what he's able to do over the course of this race. His position's changing further down as well from 4th position with Storm Stacey. We saw a look at that gap. You can see it just in the background of your shot there. Looking very interesting and very challenging for all of these riders.
Yeah, for all of these riders in the lead group, whether it's Skinner, Cook, Strudwick, you're trying to understand where your bike is a little bit better than the riders around you. We've seen Cook have a good run from the loop up towards Goddard's on a couple of occasions, so that's clearly the section where he's strong. Rory Skinner quite strong in the run into McLean's as well, and you can see here for all of these riders as they come across the line, Rory Skinner continues to lead, and he pulled out another couple of tenths of a second on Max Cook.
It's getting very interesting indeed between these guys. Brian Hard has made some ground. He gets ahead of Scott Swan for 10th position. Further back as well, this is Storm Stacey in 3rd place, with Josh Watley very close behind. Looks like actually Scott Swan has actually had some kind of a moment, because he's going tumbling down the timesheets. He's crashed at turn 11.
Yeah, Scott Swan crashing down at turn 11. He is, of course, the son of Michael Swan, the road racer and former Irish champion. But unfortunately for Scott Swan, it's been a pretty difficult weekend so far.
Meanwhile, Josh Watley has got the better of the number 3 of Storm Stacey. He moves ahead. Brilliant stuff from the young rider, the 12-year-old. He is up into 4th position in this race. Good stuff for Josh Watley. You can see how quickly he's able to close that gap and reduce that pace. So Watley now, is he going to be able to mount a charge and try to latch onto the back of Strudwick in front? But they are quite a way down the road.
Yeah, of course, for Watley, one of the youngest riders in the field, 12 years of age, racing in the British and European Talent Cup this season. So getting himself plenty of experience in this bike. You can see Max Cook just trying to hold station there behind Rory Skinner. This section of the track, the line through Foggy really is very quick. It's all about being able to flow through there, maintain your momentum, and Rory Skinner's been able to do a good job of that. We'll tend to see in the second half of the race Skinner holding a tight line on the way into Foggy just to try and force the riders onto the outside of the track, but he's doing a really good job just to be able to hold station and hold on to that lead. This is the section where we've seen Cook have really good exits on the way up to Goddard's, and you can see they're just closing on Rory Skinner, not quite close enough to try and make a move. Goddard's a section of the track really easy, Tom, just to run in a little bit too hot, hit the sections that are off camber and just run out very wide, lose a lot of time. So all these riders doing a good job just to be able to hold a tight line through there.
Yeah, we've seen that over the course of today here in various categories of racing, and that, I'm afraid, is one of the riders who's gone down. That's going into the Fogarty S's by the looks of things. Is it Harvey Claridge who's had a crash out? It's number 16.
It's Aidan Davey that's gone down, and you can see just behind him is Rhys Irwin. Rhys Irwin's actually got another ride-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so a bad day goes from bad to worse for Rhys Irwin, but at least he's still in the race. Unlike Davey, you can see the number 16 just rolling through the gravel trap. At the front of the field, we're just seeing that Skinner, Cook and Strudwick continuing to extend that lead. They're around about a second a lap faster than the likes of Josh Watley and Storm Stacey in that second group here in the British Talent Cup race. You can see Rory Skinner continuing to lead into McLean's. This is where he's strong. He made the move for the lead into McLean's, but you can see runs a little bit wide on the exit. That's going to open the door for Max Cook to make the move into Coppice.
Good stuff for Max Cook. He leads the way. Brilliant slow-mo of Aidan Davies' crash as well. Fortunately, he is up and okay, so that's the main thing to see. But the top 3 with quite an advantage over the rest of the field. 7 seconds they have over Watley and the Stacey battle that we saw a little bit earlier on. You can see there the number 11 of Rory Skinner going for the defensive line. The number 8 of Thomas Strudwick tries to make a move into there, but again, he's just not quite close enough at the moment.
Strudwick, of course, the championship leader coming into today's race, but he's found himself down in 3rd position pretty much for the entirety of the race so far. We're just coming up towards half distance here in the British Talent Cup race for Donington Park, round 2 of the championship. And Tom, you can get yourself in for next season if you're able to apply on BritishTalentCup.com.
Yep, certainly can. Over onto BritishTalentCup.com, and the applications are open if you're between the ages of 12 and I think it's 16 or something like that, and you want to fancy getting yourself into the first rung of the ladder for motorcycle racing. If you've got some experience on a motorcycle and you can prove that you can be relatively competent, then you can apply for it. And if you're added to the selection event, then you can go and be whittled down from about 100 competitors or so down to the 20 that will make the grid for the cut next season.
Yeah, and as we said at the top of the show, the likes of Alberto Puig and Nakamoto-san, they're the selectors for this championship. They've been able to pick some pretty good riders in the Asia Talent Cup. If you look down over the last few years, Grand Prix winners have come through from that class, and you also have the likes of Sasaki in the Moto3 field right now, and plenty of other riders that have come through these Talent Cups. Really do offer these riders a good opportunity to show what they can do. Rory Skinner certainly trying to show what he can do and show himself down the inside, possibly into McLean's here as he comes down in towards turn 7. You can see that Max Cook has taken a tighter line on the way in. He's learned the lesson of where Rory Skinner's quick.
Yep, certainly has done. You can see Strudwick there trying to pull out from under the bubble, going in towards Coppice, but no opportunity presenting itself to move past going into that corner. So the 3 laying as they were, and no positions being changed at the moment. Best of a lap comes from Max Cook last time around. Fastest lap in this race, a 1:41.111 for Max Cook. That's about half a second or so, 0.4 of a second a lap quicker, but a big wobble under braking is not going to help Max Cook's charge to try and get himself and make a gap in this race.
Yeah, Max Cook overcooking it on the way into the Foggy S's, but for Cook on that number 5, it's all about just being able to keep yourself in front here from Rory Skinner. For Rory, it's about keeping a cool head, and then for Thomas Strudwick, it's about being able to pick these riders off as the opportunities present themselves.
Yep, certainly is. So down in towards Goddard's, we can see Max Cook leading the way. Good stuff from him. He really is doing an absolutely brilliant job to hold off the charge of Skinner and Strudwick from behind. Good job as well for Charlie Farrer. He manages to get the better of Ross Turner, so that is very, very good indeed. Max Cook, once again, another fastest lap despite that wobble going in towards the Foggy S's.
Really consistent times as well from Cook. That lap there, only 0.7 of a second faster than the lap previously. So Cook just being able just to whittle himself down to those low 141s, really strong pace there. Strudwick was actually a little bit faster than Rory Skinner last time around, but Strudwick needs to make the move pretty soon on Rory Skinner just to be able to at least show that he's got some fight in this race. Strudwick, of course, championship leader, Tom.
Yep, championship leader as it sits at the moment, he would have a 6-point advantage over Rory Skinner and Max Cook. You can see this battle for 4th position still reigning on, though, between Watley, Stacey, Horseman, Jack Hart in there, as well as Nixon and Brian Hart as well. So this is getting pretty interesting between these riders. You can see how close they're lying at the moment, how close that gap is. And one little mistake from any of these riders could leave the door open and an opportunity presenting itself for those behind.
And that's the key thing for all these riders. If a door opens, you got to slam it down the inside and try and make that move stick. It's really difficult in these Talent Cup races to be able to stay in front. It's all about being able to use the momentum of the bike. If you're out in front, use your momentum to be able to make a move, stay within the slipstream down this long back straight to be able to get into the foggy S's and try and slide down the inside. You can see there that all the riders just keeping themselves line astern. That's Watley, Stacey, Horseman, Hart and also Nixon in that group.
Out of the foggy ETS as they come down in towards the Melbourne Loop. You can see that Stacey is looking very menacing indeed on board that number 3, just trying to challenge his younger rider Josh Watley, who's in front. Watley wants it a little bit wide through the right-hander of the Melbourne Loop, going in towards the Goddard's hairpin, the final corner on the lap just following. There's an opportunity to make a move into there, but you have to be very, very late on the brakes. Meanwhile, a succession of 3 fastest laps coming in from Max Cook, Rory Skinner and Thomas Strudwick last time around. Each rider trying to better one another. Strudwick eventually getting the fastest time.
That's exactly what you want to see. You can see Max Cook out in front. He's got his head down. He's trying to open a lead. He sets the fastest lap. Skinner and Strudwick just immediately answer back, using that slipstream, using Cook as a gauge. And this is the thing that's crucial for Cook, is you can see down into the old hairpin. Skinner's going to try and get down the inside.
Here he goes through. Strudwick has to hold off the charge at the moment. He goes to the inside as Skinner moves into the lead of the race. The number 5 of Max Cook is on the outside into the left-hander. We go, and then we're going to head into the right of McLean's. We've seen quite a few moves take place there over the course of today, but at the moment Skinner still holds the advantage and still leads the way.
Really hard to make a move on Rory Skinner into McLean's. You can see how much more corner speed he's able to carry through there, just with his line and the momentum that he carries. Really good riding from Skinner. To make that move into the old hairpin is a big challenge for these riders. Very easy just to run in a little bit too hot and run in wide, leave yourself open for attack. Good move from Rory Skinner.
And his international experience will no doubt be coming into play here as well. He's had a lot of experience the last couple of years. He spent it in the CEV and the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Had to really well take a step back into the British Talent Cup this year and race nationally for Rory Skinner after an opportunity didn't present itself to continue in Moto3 for this season. And he's doing a really good job of proving exactly why he deserves to be here at the moment, leading the race. But also Max Cook and Thomas Strudwick keeping themselves within touching distance on that podium fight. So it's doing a very good job indeed. And at the moment, if it sits as it is, Thomas Strudwick's championship lead will be whittled down to just 1 point going into the next round of the championship.
And that's the key thing for Strudwick. He set the fastest lap of the race last time around because he knows he needs to get to the front of this group to retain that championship lead. For Strudwick in 3rd position, he hasn't really looked to make a move on any of these riders in front of him as we head into the final third of this race. But Rory Skinner continuing to lead. Last time around, though, the pace has dropped off for these riders as they fight with one another. And this was the section where Cook was overtaken last time around. He's trying to get himself with that momentum through the crane of curves down the inside into the old hairpin, too far back on Rory Skinner to try and make the move. And yesterday, this is exactly what we saw from Rory Skinner, able to get to the front and hold on to those positions just by putting his bike in the right place at the right time. Replay of Max Cook just coming down in towards the foggy S's in front of Rory Skinner on the number 11 bike. Tom Strudwick there, 3rd position on the number 8 bike. And you can see those riders just as they flip-flop through the foggy S's and then lead themselves on down in towards the Melbourne Loop. On these Moto3 based bikes, for the likes of these free front runners, it's all about being able to maintain that roll through the foggy S's, put yourself in the right position on the way down in towards the Melbourne Loop. That is the key overtaking opportunity for these riders. Very wide track on the way into there for these bikes, and you're able just to put the bike down the inside and hopefully able to make that move stick. Rory Skinner just running over the curbs as he comes through turn 10. Let's see if he gets under attack on the way into the Melbourne Loop.
Well, let's wait and see what happens. Down hard on the brakes we go. Max Cook signals his intentions by going for an inside line, but he's not quite close enough to go through there. You can see the gap between Strudwick and Watley has increased over the last couple of laps. As these riders have been able to pick up their pace, Watley hasn't been able to respond. So at the best, it looks like Josh Watley will be finishing in 4th position in this race, but he has still got Jack Hart, Cameron Horseman, Storm Stacey and Jack Nixon for company very close behind. And now we're getting into the business end of the race here, Steve. It's going to get very interesting indeed.
Yeah, we're into the final 4 laps of the race here, and the leading trio just come across the line. Last time around, little to choose between them. 41.2s from all of these riders. There's only half a second between Skinner on the 11, Cook on the 5, Strudwick on the 8. This is the battle for 4th position. That's Josh Watley at the front of this field. Watley, of course, he came into this race the same amount of points as Rory Skinner, so he's been able to quietly amass those points over the course of these opening 2 races of the British Talent Cup Championship. And as it stands, he'll sit 3rd in the standings at the end of this round. But can he stay in the front of that group, Tom? He's definitely going to come under attack from the likes of Hart that's just behind him, and also Horseman and Nixon.
One of the things that might benefit Josh Watley here is the fact that he is racing in the British Talent Cup and also the European Talent Cup this year, which means he's on exactly the same bike, but he's competing in European circuits where generally there's quite a few more riders and the groups are very, very big and very, very close. So that experience might be quite beneficial for Josh Watley. Let's see what happens to him. At the moment, he is still leading that charge, and leading the way in this race, it is still Rory Skinner.
And Skinner's going to come under attack here from Cook, who's going to try and get down the inside into the foggy S's, and he should be able to hold that inside line, take the corner here from Cook on that number 5. Good move from Cook to be able to make that move. As we said at the top of the show, Tom, he's been able to pick up a lot of wins over the last few years, 15 race wins in the KTM Cup last year, so he knows what to do when he hits the front.
Yeah, not shy of being at the front of a race, not shy of leading the way, and certainly not shy of trying to pull out a gap on these riders either. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to do that, however, but I don't think he's going to be able to, because the pace of Skinner and Strudwick, who are very close behind, is not necessarily that different to the pace that he's setting at the moment.
We've got 3 laps to go once we start the next lap, and for all these riders, there's really 3 key corners to be able to maximise on your lap. You want to be fast on the exit of Redgate, carry that momentum down the Craner curve so you can make a move into the Old Hairpin. You need to be quick out of the Old Hairpin if you're trying to defend, because you come onto the fastest section of the track in the run up towards turn 6 and turn 7 into McLean's. You need to be able to exit Cop as well to see if you're able to attack down into the foggy S's. And then obviously we've also got the Melbourne Loop, where we've seen most of the overtaking moves so far this weekend. You can see Strudwick on the number 8. He's trying to get as close as he can to Rory Skinner, but Skinner just able to carry a little bit more speed down through the Craner curves down into the Old Hairpin. That really is the section now where we've seen Rory Skinner really strong in that number 11 bike. It's the run into McLean's.
One of the things we mentioned yesterday, Steve, of course, is that the bikes are hardly ever upright, really, from turns 2 all the way down into the McLean's corner. So the bikes are constantly at an arc, constantly on lean angle, and constantly being leant over and ridden very quickly.
Yeah, really here at Donington Park, it's all about that momentum, because you do tend to just move the bike from one side to the other all the way around here. There's nowhere to rest, even on these British Talent Cup bikes. And you can see Max Cook, he's not starting to take a defensive line just yet. He's carrying his normal line down that back straight. Strudwick not quite close enough to try and attack on Rory Skinner. And we saw Skinner really have a measured race yesterday, used his experience well, but he's got 2.5 laps to hit the front here.
Yep, certainly has done, so let's wait and see whether his experience will help him out. Last time around, it was Max Cook who set the fastest lap of 1:40.712. Skinner and Strudwick, though, not too far adrift, setting lap times within a couple of tenths of a second of that pace. So be interesting to see what happens on these last couple of laps.
Yeah, and this is the section where we've seen Cook really strong in that number 5 bike. Whenever he was behind Rory Skinner, he was able to attack Skinner into Goddard. So that run from the loop down into Goddard's, he's really strong. But you can see he runs quite wide there in the exit over the curbs. Has that cost him any momentum with regards to what Skinner's been able to do? Last time around, Skinner picked up a little bit of time on Cook, but it's all just little bits of time for these riders. It's just in terms of where you're able to pick up that time. It's crucial to be able to pick it up at the parts of the track where you're strong. Just try and make your moves. This is this fight for a 4th position. We still have the number 6 of Josh Watley leading that battle, but you can see that everyone's going to start fighting with one another, jostling for position. You've got 2 laps to try and move yourself up to 4th position. Here at Donington Park, that's only 24 corners. You run out of time very quickly here at Donington Park. Cook continues to lead. Skinner's under attack here from Strudwick on the number 8.
Yeah, trying to find his way through is Strudwick. Will he be able to launch a move into McLean's? He's not quite close enough on this occasion, but he is still lining there, still close and up to the back of him. All these bikes, of course, absolutely identical in every way, shape or form, prepared in exactly the same way. Only setup is different on board the bikes, of course, to suit the different riding styles. So it does mean that they are very, very close in terms of performance, and you can see the exit there that Strudwick has been able to get out of Coppice, going down in towards the foggy S's. Will he be able to think about a move? He's closing, but is he going to be late enough on the brakes? Backs out of it at the last moment.
Yeah, and how good was that from Rory Skinner? You could see the whole way from Coppice down into the foggy S's that Strudwick was able to close in on him, but Skinner able just to break as deep as possible into the foggy S's, and it's also let him actually carry that speed all the way down into the Melbourne Loop as well. And Skinner doing a really good job here just to stick with Cook, but Cook is doing a fantastic job just to hit all of his markers to be able to stay in front of Rory Skinner. We know that Skinner's the man with all the experience. He's one of the few British riders that's actually run a Red Bull Rookies Cup race. The only other ones, Brad Ray and Danny Kent, they've got a pretty good pedigree, so we know that Rory Skinner's got a good pedigree. So Max Cook doing a great job to stay in front of him.
Absolutely right. Yeah, Max Cook competing in Red Bull Rookies this year as well, so his experience out on track is certainly going to be beneficial as we come on to the last lap, heading in towards the first corner of Redgate for the final time of asking. It is Max Cook who leads the way from Rory Skinner. Tom Strudwick there also in and amongst the mix, and look at this little battle further down the order as well. You can see Nixon there is Cameron Horseman on the number 23, and he is coming under pressure from Jack Hart as we come down towards the first corner. Hart going for the inside line. Does he find the way through? Not quite into there.
Yeah, good move there. Attempted by Hart trying to get down the inside on that number 10. You got both the Hart riders in that fight, but you also have Rory Skinner having just taken the lead as he came through the old hairpin. Good move from Skinner. You'd imagine he carried that momentum down in towards turn 4, but Skinner holds on to that lead as we head into McLean's, and Cook is under attack now from Strudwick as well.
This is getting very close indeed between the three riders. Who is going to take victory? It's anybody's guess at the moment. We know how good that Rory Skinner is on the last lap. We know how good he is under pressure and how he can defend his line brilliantly as well.
Does Skinner hold that left-hand side of the track and force Cook to go all the way around the outside and the way into the foggy S's? And you can see here Strudwick's trying to get down the inside as well. Not quite close enough from Strudwick, but he could have the momentum to roll through the foggy S's and make an attack on Max Cook. Rory Skinner's played a blinder in this last lap so far, but there's still the run from the loop down into Goddard's. That's what we've seen. Cook really strong. Cook not close enough to try and attack on the way into the loop, but it's all about the exit now for Cook. Can he exit here really strong and stay with the number 11 of Rory Skinner?
Yeah, he's really thinking about it. He's going to be side by side. They're going to go for the race lead. Here comes Cook down the inside into the Fogarty S's. Is he going to make it stop? Is he going to find the way through? Is the room going to be there? Oh, big moment for Rory Skinner. Max Cook's going to take this win. He comes over the timing line and he takes the checkered flag just ahead of Rory Skinner, and Rory Skinner just ahead of Thomas Strudwick there by just a few thousandths of a second. What a race.
Yeah, perfectly judged stuff there for Max Cook to take his first British Talent Cup victory, and nothing Rory Skinner can do about that as well. Watley's going to come across the line to take 4th place just in front of Storm Stacey, and we've seen how close that battle is all the way down with Nixman, Horseman, Hart, and also the number 10 of Jack Hart just rounding out that top 9. Really good battle for 4th position there, but it was all about this battle for the win. Really strong stuff from all these riders. Max Cook played that to perfection. We knew he was strong in the run from the loop up towards Goddard's into that final corner, and he put his bike exactly where he had to put it, and it's so easy to run in a little bit too hot if you take that inside line. There's a bump on the inside into Goddard's. He was able to control the bike over that, still hold that tight line, and we should be able just to catch a replay of this. This is Rory Skinner taking the lead on the run down in towards the old hairpin. Carries that momentum down the hill. Does a good job to make that move stick. It's very easy to just roll through there a little bit too fast, and as you can see here from Max Cook, very easy just to lose the front. Rory Skinner, actually, he's the rider that just has that big slide on the way through, and Skinner will be happy enough to come away with 20 points because he could have come away with nothing.
Yeah, absolutely right. He could have come off the seat of that bike and ended up in the grass at the final corner. It wouldn't have been the first time that we've seen that over the course of this 2018 season here at Donington Park. Max Cook with his first win in the British Talent Cup. Good performance from the rider from Swindon. He'll be pleased with that, and the championship standings after this one are very, very interesting as well. Thomas Strudwick has the advantage in the championship, but now by just 6 points over Rory Skinner.
Yes, Strudwick won the first race. He leads the championship. Skinner won the second. He's second in the championship, and this man, Max Cook, winner of the 3rd ever British Talent Cup race, he's 3rd in the standings. Only 12 points separating that trio of riders. Josh Whately's been able to move himself up into 4th position in the championship. He's only 13 points behind as well. So all those riders with a lot to play for when British Talent Cup resumes at the next round in Snetterton in a few weeks' time as they support the British Superbikes Championship.
It really is going to be very interesting to see what happens there. A track that a lot of these riders have been to when they've been racing in the likes of the BSP Championships, such as Moto Star and the KTM RC Cup over the last few years. However, some of them don't necessarily have too much experience. Brian Hart being one example, of course. He's been racing in Spain, but of course does have KTM experience. So it'll be interesting to see how they all fare at the Snetterton circuit. It's fast, it is flowing, it is wide open. So I'm very excited to see how all of these runners and riders get on here in June as they all come back into pit lane. There is Thomas Strudwick, the number 8. You can just see his helmet going behind the pit wall there, and Thomas Strudwick, another podium. So 3 races and 3 podiums for him. Of course, it was the top step of the podium in race number 1, 2 podiums in this weekend as well, race 1 and race 2 for him. Into pit lane though, Rory Skinner, he'll be pretty pleased with 2nd position. Does look a little bit dejected though after that one, Steve.
Yeah, for Rory Skinner, he's been able to put himself into a position to win that race, not quite able to make it stick. He's down there in Park Ferme with his dad, Mike Skinner, and for both of those, they can come away with this weekend 45 points for Rory. It's still a good weekend's work. But this man, Thomas Strudwick, he can come away pretty satisfied with a couple of podiums and that championship lead. But Max Cook, he's the man that leads here with the momentum.
Yep, Thomas Strudwick then, the race winner here at Donington Park. What a victory. And Max Cook taking the victory here at Donington Park. A brilliant win for him. His first win in the British Talent Cup. So Max Cook on the top step of your podium. For the first time this season, the rider from Swindon, he'll be very, very pleased with that, and quite rightly so as well. You can see there also in the Parc Ferme area, Rory Skinner on the right-hand side of your picture, Thomas Strudwick just at the far end as well.
Yeah, and for all these riders, it's all about learning what you need to do within any of these championships. You can see these three riders, they'll go down for interviews. You can see Charlie Hiscock from British Eurosport down there. Michael Laverty's also down there for BT Sport. It's all about learning what you need to do after a race, how to project yourself, how to train, how to get yourself ready for racing. And that's really what these Talent Cups are all about. And that's why a lot of riders in them make big progressions over the course of a couple of years. You can see Rory Skinner there. Second position from Rory, and another strong performance from Rory.
Really good stuff from Rory Skinner. He'll be very, very pleased with that one. Despite looking a little bit dejected, I'm sure, 20 points on the board. When he thinks about the bigger picture, when he thinks about the championship, he's only 6 points adrift of Tom Strudwick. And after that moment he had at the final corner, as you said there, Steve, it could have been far, far worse for him. So he'll be pretty pleased with that one, I reckon.
Yeah, almost certainly. And 20 points from this race. 25 points from yesterday, 45 points overall, and you can see from Rory Skinner there, he knows how close he came to crashing in the final corner, able to catch that high side, and luckily for Rory, still catch 20 points. He saw Seabright yesterday crash at that last corner and cost himself the chance of points, so Rory Skinner knows that he dodged a bullet in that crash at the last corner, but definitely a strong weekend for Rory Skinner and also for Max Cook and Tom Strudwick. Really good performance from all three riders, Tom.
Absolutely, yeah, really good stuff from all three of them. Nice clean racing over the course of those 15 laps. Very, very impressive stuff from Max Cook becoming his, taking his first win here in the British Talent Cup. Very impressive and very entertaining over the course of it as well. They were very clean, hardly any contact, if any contact as well. And it really did make for a very exciting race here at Donington Park. As we've become to expect from the British Talent Cup, it's always close. If you look at the Asian version of it, the Asia Talent Cup, of course, and even the European Talent Cup to an extent as well, all on exactly the same motorcycles, and the racing is generally very close, and that's no different here this afternoon in the British Talent Cup.
Yeah, Tom, the riders that come through from the Asia Talent Cup, they've been able to show what they can do, whether it's in the Grand Prix class or at the moment in the CEV Championship as well.
Yep, absolutely right. As you said there, Steve, Rory Skinner, of course, with his CEV experience over the last couple of years, that will have definitely helped his racecraft and definitely helped his experience in that battle as they fought at the front. Thomas Strudwick, of course, we know that he has been very quick in the Moto Star Championship in the junior class. He competes on a similar bike to this one. However, the bike in question does have Pirelli tyres fitted to it as opposed to the Dunlops that they run here in the BTC. So slightly different for that, and also slightly different suspension as I understand it. But regardless, still the same chassis, and very similar for him to be able to get experience on board that bike double time this season.
And these three riders will all head out onto the podium. You can see there, just getting their British Talent Cup towels. You've got to make sure that you keep the logos prominent. They're learning all these important lessons right at the start of their career. That's Tom Strudwick that goes out first. Third position for Strudwick today, 16 points. Rory Skinner in the middle. And Rory with 16 points there, 20 points for finishing second. And all about Max Cook picking up his first British Talent Cup victory.
Absolutely brilliant stuff for the top three. Max Cook on the top step of your podium, Rory Skinner in second, and Tom Strudwick in third place. An absolutely incredible race. Some really, really exciting battles throughout the field as well. We saw, of course, for fourth position, Josh Watley managing to get the better of the riders behind. That was incredibly close for a good period of time.
Strudwick looking a little bit disappointed there to have only finished third. And nothing wrong with that for Strudwick. He is the championship leader, continuing to lead the series. But this man, Max Cook, picking up his first victory. And Tom, he's a man that did a lot of winning last year in the KTM Cup. Good to see him at the top step of the podium here in the British Talent Cup.
Yep, somewhere where he is used to being for Max Cook as well. He'll be very pleased with that one. We'll get ready for the British National Anthem here to play out over Donington Park. Max Cook, his first race win in the British Talent Cup here at Donington Park. As you can see, we'll next be out at Snetterton on the 16th of June. So in just over a few weeks' time, we'll be there supporting the British Superbike Championship. And that, I can assure you, is going to be very, very exciting indeed, Steve, if it's even half as good as the races we've had this weekend.
Yeah, two great races this weekend in the British Talent Cup, two different race winners, and these three riders certainly separated themselves from the field. But the one thing that you do tend to see in these Talent Cups is the status quo doesn't remain that for long. Riders gain their experience pretty quickly in this series.
You can see the final results then from the race. Let's have a look and tell you who finished where. Well, Max Cook, Rory Skinner, Tom Strudwick on the podium, as we know. Then comes Josh Watley, Storm Stacey and Jack Nixon in 4th, 5th and 6th place. Cameron Horseman in that battle, as well as Jack and Brian Hart. No relation between the two. Brian finishing ahead of Jack on this occasion for 8th position. So good stuff from all of those guys. Then comes Charlie Atkins. He was inside the top 10. Lewis Patterson, the Scotsman, in 11th. Then Ross Turner, Jonathan Campbell, Charlie Farrer, Jamie Davis on the points in 15th position. And then Scott Swan in 16th, Rhys Irwin 17th, Harvey Claridge down there in 18th position, Scott Ogden the last of the classified finishers, Aidan Davies, Sam Laffins, Franco Bourne all failing to finish, as well as Fenton Seabride, of course, caught up in that crash at the second corner on the opening lap of the race. Disappointment for them. The championship, though, after this weekend, sits like this. Thomas Strudwick still leads the way at the top of the timesheets. He, though, only has a 6-point advantage over Rory Skinner. Max Cook moves up a position at the expense of Josh Watley. Storm Stacey and Jack Nixon, as well as Cameron Horseman, the men on the move. 3, 5 and 1 positions. They advance in the championship, respectively. So very good results for those guys. A few riders moving down the orders, as you can see. Well, the British Talent Cup has been hugely exciting so far this season. 2 different winners in 2 races here at Donington Park this weekend. Continues that theme. We'll be out next time on the 16th of June at the Snetterton Circuit, supporting the British Superbike Championship. From Stephen English alongside me and from myself, Tom Brooks, it's goodbye for now, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.